All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Rakugo, Season 1, Episode 6. All right.
Okay.
So we had our wholesome, wonderful little theater production, and it was wonderful. It was adorable. It was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It was overacted. It was short. I loved it.
And we had the wonderful old married couple pictures taken afterward.
Absolutely.
Which I'm sure have all kinds of sentiment in present day.
Yeah.
Given
what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, how will things kind of develop between Sukeroku and Yakumo? How will Miyokichi continue to kind of be a little bit of a driving force, kind of in the story? Yeah,
because her and Yakumo are going steady right now,
They have something unique.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's the same thing as what he was kind of having with the girl who left for the countryside. What's her name?
Ochio-chan.
Ochio, yeah.
Yes.
If anything, it seems like she's got kind of this, like, aw, like, look at this little puppy, and he's so cute and sweet, and
she cares about him a lot, it seems, and is taking the initiative, shall we say.
Yeah, she definitely is guiding the relationship.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, It's interesting. But, last episode was very wholesome and positive, so hopefully this one continues.
No crazy heart-wrenching drama.
Yeah. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, be sure to check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion.
All right,
okay.
This was a really good episode. Very sweet and wholesome and wonderful.
Yep, exactly what we wanted.
Yes.
Yep.
And that builds my apprehension and suspicion even more because it's so good right now that just means that when it starts not going good, it's gonna hurt even more.
Right, but there are a couple things here that they foreshadowed a little bit of some specific issues here. Is that Hiko, or we'll just call him Yakumo because we're thinking in the present terms, has a little bit of jealousy of Sukeroku. That's something that we've seen before, obviously. Yes. But he found his own Rakugo via a little bit of the assistance that Sukeroku kind of insightfully, kind of pushed him in that direction for.
Yes.
Now, one of the things that's very common when you have a little bit of jealousy towards someone that just kind of does their thing naturally a little bit more easily than you is you want to have the discovery or the journey by which you came to your own kind of success in that area be something that was via your effort and your work, basically.
Yep.
Now, I could see a little bit of Yakumo maybe just a little bit resenting the fact that him discovering his own Rakugo was more something that came about via
because of Sukeroku. Yeah.
But I think that if anything, that's not where a lot of the conflict is going to come from. I think the thing that they foreshadowed here about where the future conflict is going to come from is what they said basically was going to be the wedge driving the divide between them, which is Miyokichi.
Yep.
And that she encouraged his kindness when it was offered. And he was very much in like, hey, no, we can't let someone like you go home. And I think that if Matsuda hadn't been there and somewhat cock-blocked basically Sukeroku, oh yeah, they would have had a very different night spent basically. I'm just guessing.
That is a definite strong possibility.
And I think that because of the lack of definition to the relationship dynamic between her and Yakumo, that Yakumo could end up getting even more jealous because it's a thing of where eventually she's basically not feeling maybe as I would say attended to.
Well,
as someone like Sukeroku probably could.
I feel like this is something where there's jealousy on both sides, right? There's
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That there's jealousy from Yakumo because of the whole thing with just how his Rakugo is forming and everything, and that Sukeroku seems to constantly be 2 steps ahead of him.
Yep.
But then there's also the idea that in the Count of Monte Cristo. Now I don't think that Sukeroku is this type of person, but you remember the line where Fernand says, well, I can't live in a world where you have everything and I have nothing. The idea that Sukeroku is used to being basically ahead of Yakumo, right? But then in the situation where he could be considered to potentially not be ahead of Yakumo, is that Yakumo's got this classy lady that he's constantly hanging out with, and and they've got something special going on, right? Whereas for Sukeroku, it's just sort of, getting drunk and partying around and, different girls all the time, right?
Oh, I don't think we've gotten to that part yet.
I don't think we've gotten to that part yet, but I feel like we're seeing the kernels of that start to form, and especially if Yakumo finding his own kind of Rakugo is what causes him to become the Yakumo, right? That's something that would feel even worse for Sukeroku, because he was constantly the one that was ahead in the Rakugo sense.
I get the vibe more so that he won't be called Yakumo until Sukeroku's already dead.
That is a definite possibility.
Yeah. I think that's probably part of the reason why he has such a not a guilt-laden personality in the present, but he seems to be one that's like he feels very low. Not humble low, but like
depressed or
just down. Yeah.
Like not a lot of self-worth kind of a thing. And that might
just down.
Okay.
Just low energy. Like he's not got a lot of passion. He's got
well, but the thing is he's starting to find that here though. And it's not the same kind of
I'm talking about in the present. I'm talking about when he's older. I'm talking about Yakumo in the present, where he currently is, not in the backstory.
Okay.
I'm saying that whatever happens in this backstory here, I'm more looking to see what kind of brings him to that low stage there. And I feel like it's more associated with things like the guilt and sorrow, shame, and stuff that accompanies basically a situation that you had control over, but you didn't handle in the way you wished you had. And given that Sukeroku ends up dead at some point,
right?
I feel like that would just be another thing that they could add to it here. But yeah, we're mostly in just pure speculation territory. The episode itself got into a little bit of the areas where Sukeroku is actually really helpful to Yakumo. Areas in which he's very encouraging, kind of really making kind of sure to highlight the parts where Yakumo is having success, like with the acting.
Oh yeah, and the way that he's enjoying Yakumo's Rakugo even more so than the audience. Like he's right there. And it's great because if they didn't have this kind of foundation that they continually build on, right, then we wouldn't care as much when it goes bad. Right, when whatever happens that ends up happening that causes the wedge to be driven in the relationship that ends up with him dying, that wouldn't hit as hard
if they didn't have such a good
connection. And the idea that even now it seems like we're just getting like the little seedlings of what will potentially drive them apart,
right?
But still, they're like this. They're tight. Right, and I just I love that because it's nothing to say beyond what I've already said, but it makes it so much more sad, and because when you have connections like that, they are so rare, and like they are family at this point, and the idea that it's something where like the fact that Yakumo didn't say anything to the one guy who asked about like, hey, what was different tonight? It's probably because of just this is for him, this is a private thing, but also because maybe this is something that he also wouldn't tell Sukeroku, right? The idea that Sukeroku wasn't the one who asked, right? But the idea that like and maybe I'm spitballing or whatever here, but the idea that when he was telling Sukeroku about this experience that he had, and they were talking about the experience with the previous play, right, or with the play, not with just the Rakugo performance, and Sukeroku had the sort of thing like, see, I told you you'd do better with those kinds of stories, right? And it's like, oh, and it just kind of just took the wind out of his sails right there. Now he's thinking, okay, I've got this, and I'm going to keep it secret. I'm going to keep it precious to myself because this is something that I didn't think I would ever have.
Right.
But now I do. And I don't want anything to happen to it. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that also potentially caused the wedge between him and Miyokichi, because I didn't quite catch everything that happened as far as her reactions to his performance, but she didn't seem to be as into it as some of the other people were, right?
Huh.
Like there seemed to be this distance from her, like maybe that this was something that he was in his world now, kind of, and this was a place where like she couldn't join him here, maybe like the idea that she'd constantly been encouraging him, and now her encouragement he didn't really need anymore, maybe. Like I might be reading into this way too much.
I'd rather go back out of speculation territory, because I'm not able to follow you with half the stuff. So I know what you're kind of going at here, but there was so much in the episode based around Yakumo kind of having a little bit more confidence, and I definitely see that there are seedlings of things that they're setting up for future episodes. But when we had Yakumo realize that he could actually do this, and he was getting that positive feedback, there was like this mischievousness that he seemed to have, that if anything felt maybe that was where it was coming from, is a little bit of just strength, just something else coming from there. He doesn't look like he needs help. And Yakumo's been a character that we've seen thus far, especially what they showed in the backstory, within the backstory, where he goes back to kind of thinking about when he was living at the geisha house, in that if anything he was kind of not coddled, but I would say if anything he was kind of treated as the exception there. You know, you saw the girl who it bumped into hm, basically,
right, and she was the one that was
apparently made the mistake,
right?
But I'm not 100% sure that that's even the case. It could have been a thing of where it's just like, oh yeah, you're the boy that's injured, or the boy that, you know,
you're the child of someone that, you know, like the fact that we're keeping you here just is probably an exception in and of itself. And if there is something like that and he's aware that basically he's getting coddled, then it would be very hard to have confidence, because what does he have that he has himself versus what's just being given to him, you know, as charity by the people around him.
Right. And then how quickly that thing that he had, that he might have probably had no real problems with, it might have been something that he was so good at that he was making the other women kind of look bad by how quickly he was just picking it up, probably dedicating all of his time to it. But then, oh, you weren't born a woman. Oh, too bad. You'll never be a geisha. So now how can he have confidence in anything that he gets a little bit of good at? Because someone could just come by and go, yeah, you're not really meant for this. The idea that when Miyokichi brings up earlier, him almost kind of, I would say, parroting the thing that he had heard from those women that we didn't really know was kind of that, but that you're not cut out for Rakugo, maybe. And so he says that, oh, maybe I'm not cut out for Rakugo. He's in some ways, I would say, fishing for the encouragement that she so readily gives, to be like, no, you're great at it. You know, you're wonderful.
A foundation that he can push off of, and
Right, because when he did get good, or at the very least was doing well enough that they would let him practice with all the other women in his geisha dancing, all it was just like, oh, no, you're becoming a little bit too, you know, obviously, you know, masculine, maybe, or
just that he was practicing hard enough that it wasn't just considered like, you know, a little kid playing. It's like, oh no, he's actually serious about this. Too bad. Yeah, that's never gonna happen.
We didn't give details again on the injury, so we're just left open to speculate on that.
Yeah, they could go back to that more if they wanted to.
But then when he leaves, there's almost this air of like, oh, but everything's gonna be great. Everything's gonna be great. We're not gonna kind of make this into a sad thing that it is for him. So when he leaves, I mean, let's be real. It's probably
very much aware that he's getting kicked out.
Yeah, he's very much aware that he's getting kicked out. But I think actually the reason why he left is just the injury. They just probably used it as an excuse. They're like, oh, you're injured. You know, you can't do this anymore.
Right. Yeah.
But when he goes there to do Rakugo, he is doing this because it is a necessity based on him needing to survive. It has nothing to do with his desire. We have this other character alongside him that is pure raw desire. And just going after his things that he wants to do passionately. He's always wanted to do Rakugo. And of course that person's going to do better then. Of course that person's going to, accelerate and have all this natural talent things faster because it's something that he's had all this passion for since he was a young boy.
Yeah. And
now we have basically a character that's just wanting to find their passion within the niche of a thing that they never even really wanted to do for the in the first place.
Right.
So, like, how painful is that? Like realizing that it's not about whether or not you could just switch and become an actor. It's like, no, you don't understand. He spent so much time on this. How can he not basically give himself all for it? Like switching to become an actor on like a theater kind of stage of things would be the equivalent of like giving up. I just feel like he's caught between a rock and a hard place, and he's going to end up being this Yakumo of Rakugo, even though he didn't ever really want to become Rakugo
originally. And that's what I love about this, is that up till now he's been trapped between a rock and a hard place, right? And now he's finally starting to be able to spread his wings. And the fact that it was something like I thought they were going to go for the slightly more cheesy answer, I guess, of he's doing his this Rakugo performance he's doing for her kind of a thing. I'm so glad they didn't do that, actually, and that he's doing it for himself.
It was pretty obvious they were going to do it for himself once they showed the backstory and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. But one of the things that does make me think of is the fact that Tsukuroku isn't doing it for himself. He's doing it for the audience. Now, there's a definite power to that, right?
Yes,
which he has displayed,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
He's like, it's all for the audience. So it's him and them, right?
It's interactive.
It's interactive, right? And he feeds off the energy and he plays off of it and all that stuff, and it's great, right?
Yep.
And his performance, he will tailor to the specific audience that he has in front of him.
Yeah.
Right? Fantastic.
Yeah. It's like a comedian in a lot of ways.
Yes. When I think about that, though, I think about something that is very strong on the outside and yet doesn't have much of a foundation. That it's hollow, right? It might have strength in that it depends on itself, like a hollow like sphere or something, right?
Yeah. What would happen if he ever got a bad reception?
Right. If it ever cracks, then it starts to just crumble apart because it doesn't have anything beneath that. And I feel like that's also where the seedlings of the jealousy that they've started to plant a little bit. I feel like that's where that will continue to come from, is that it will be something basically their Rakugos will end up being just very, very different. And there could be a part of him that looks at Yakumo's Rakugo, and even though it's not his style, sees something in it that is enticing. But who knows if that'll be the way it goes.
Yeah. The Tsukuroku, I definitely see a part of him in me, something that I very much kind of resonate with, and that is that he definitely feeds off of connections in a way that is not vampiric, but something where it's like he is inputting so much energy into the connections that when there is feedback on the connections, he gets excited by that and continues to delve more energy into it. So then when he is in a situation where he's getting all this feedback, he's having all this, good stuff there, that's fantastic. However, we see constantly that he has a drinking problem.
Yes.
He goes out on the town and drinks for potentially connection.
Right.
Now, here's the thing that's weird, right? He's got opportunities for connections probably all over the place.
Sure.
But he's got also a specific person who's very close to him, very different from him, obviously.
Definitely.
And while he might not be as fun, he definitely probably could find a lot of opportunity to connect with him. But instead, he's like, no, I'm going to go out and drink and do all this other stuff. So I think, if anything, it's not that a lot of this stuff is foreshadowing jealousy from Tsukuroku's side, but it's that Tsukuroku has some deeper inset problems that have nothing to do with Yakumo. They have nothing to do with Rakugo, but they're more deep on his persona.
He's a people pleaser.
Sure, but that's not a problem. That's an indicator of a problem.
But what that can mean is that he doesn't have a way. He lets himself get defined by his environment.
Sure.
Right.
Yes.
And there's a lot, and because of that, but right. Yeah. And he plays great in that space, right? That's what he's used to. But if there ever comes a point where that's not enough, he might find himself empty.
Yeah, I think that'll happen quicker than we'd think, because a lot of what makes him strong is in a lot of ways the response that people give.
Yeah,
but that requires initiation.
Right.
That requires initiative. That requires him to be the proactive character. And in some ways, what's been cool so far is they've literally set up a proactive and a reactive character to be the duo main character setup for this whole story. I'll just tell you that the main development for the reactive character in storytelling generally is them becoming more proactive.
Right.
But for the proactive character, it's usually them needing something stronger to base their proactiveness upon.
Right.
They either lose their footing via some coincidence, environment changes, things that are outside their control, or they just make a mistake and then lose it that way.
Right.
And then they have to go on a little bit of a period of self-reflection and then become a little bit of a reactive character in a point there. But what they can do, and this is really cool, is they can learn from the reactive character that went on their journey towards being a proactive character and go, oh, right, okay, cool. So on the wholesome side of predictions here, I'm going to predict actually in a lot of ways that when Sukeroku is at his worst, Yakumo is going to be at his best.
Sure.
And that's going to be something where it will actually have a wholesomeness to it. Yakumo will very much be able to help him a little bit in key areas there. But what's going to be maybe the big test, in my opinion, is whether or not Sukeroku is able to help himself. Now, another thing, I'm just going to go way off on a limb here since I haven't really done too much crazy speculation in this one here, is that I think that when Sukeroku is at his worst, Miyokichi will play kind of the supporter, and
I can see
that's where things are going to get a little bit interesting.
Yeah. And there's a possibility that if the wedge is driven between Sukeroku and Yakumo, by the time he reaches a really low point, that maybe Yakumo isn't there. Sure. And then it can be the whole thing of them both realizing how much they took the other for granted.
It's a good episode. We got some good performances. I loved the little Rakugo performances from the two of them there. They were quite funny. They were quite endearing.
I can't swim. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, you fell in too soon. Sorry, this isn't a good time for me. See,
I'm getting paid. I have to go now.
Oh, man. Wow.
I wonder, though, if on rewatch we're going to see any kind of parallels in the Rakugo performances
with
to
their story?
Actual story parts that they go through.
I wholeheartedly think
I
that
really
that's the
felt
case.
it in this story.
Oh, yeah. One needs to leave before the other. Yeah. Among other things.
Oh, you died too soon. I'm sorry.
Yep.
We'll see. So y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us. We're the community there about this show, about anime in general, about stories, or just whatever, like specifically Jacob's book that he wrote.
Indeed, that's right. I wrote a sci-fi novel. It's called Battle Lines. It's available on Amazon. The link is in the description below. It's in hardcover and ebook format, so whichever works best for you. Just go check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.